And welcome to the Freedom Friday live stream. We come to you here every, 90 to 95% of all Fridays at 9:30 a.m. Eastern. We're coming to you on YouTube. We're coming to you on LinkedIn. We're coming to you on my Facebook page, coming to you on Periscope, Twitter. Thank you so much for joining me today and allowing me to be part of your week. Listen, it is Friday, so I'm going to ask you this question. What are your 3 big wins for this week? Because if you think you haven't had any wins this week, you got to think harder. You got to enter this weekend and enter next week with a sense of gratitude. Think of it. Think hard. Have that daily practice, that daily sense of gratitude. I know you had some wins this week, so I want to know your wins. Put them in the comments, whether you're joining us on LinkedIn, on YouTube, on Twitter, Periscope, whatever it is, Facebook. Put your wins in the comments today. And as always, as you join us, stop in, say hello in the comments. Let us know your name, your town, your city, your state, your country, your continent. We love seeing everyone from around the globe join us here on Freedom Friday live stream. Today's live stream, by the way, there's a link in the post. No matter where you're joining us today, is brought to you by my upcoming Freedom Lifestyle webinar. If you aren't as free and fulfilled in your life as you want, if you're someone, maybe you quit the 9 to 5 and you started your own business because you wanted to go on a journey to freedom, but you built a prison instead, I've been there. Don't feel bad about it, but don't settle. Click the link. Join my Freedom Lifestyle webinar. It's March 18th at noon Eastern. We're going to go through and walk through the 5 pillars of the freedom lifestyle that you can use to build your business, to get in a new career, whatever it is, whatever freedom means to you. And we're going to talk about freedom more in today's show. But you deserve a life of freedom and fulfillment. Regnus, you stop stressing yourself over long-term goals. That is a win this week. Thank you for putting that in the comments. Again, what are your wins for this week? Put them in the comments. And if you are not as free and fulfilled as you desire, if you're not as free and fulfilled as you deserve, I want you to click that link. I challenge you to click the link in the post. Register for my upcoming Freedom Lifestyle webinar. Listen, I'm someone who built a prison for years. I'm going to tell you right now, it's not about money, and prosperity doesn't equal money. Prosperity is a mindset. Prosperity is a way of life. Prosperity is being truly free and truly fulfilled. I'm someone who had a 7-figure agency, and I did not feel prosperous. I felt poor in spirit. I felt poor in mind. I didn't feel free and fulfilled, and I broke free. And now my mission is to help you be free and fulfilled in your life, whatever that means to you. So if you don't feel as free and fulfilled as you would like, and by the way, in today's episode, we're going to talk about your freedom index so you can help identify those areas of your life in which you need to be more free and fulfilled. I can help you get there. Click the link in the post, sign up for the Freedom Lifestyle webinar, March 18th at noon Eastern. Again, welcome, whether you're joining us on Twitter, Periscope, YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, welcome. Please come in. Let us know your big wins for this week. Let's end this week with a sense of achievement, a sense of accomplishment, and a sense of gratitude. Share your wins with us. Also, pop in, say hello. Let us know your name, your town, your city, your state, your country, your continent, where in the world you're joining us from. Again, this is the Freedom Friday live stream. We are here just about every Friday, 9:30 a.m. Eastern. So thank you so much for joining us today. Hello, Jerry from Chicago, North America, joining us on LinkedIn. Jerry, what are your wins for this past week? Let us know. Anyone joining us? Let's see who's joining us on Facebook. We've already had some comments. I know people are watching us on YouTube. I can see you. We're going to get in today's topics here soon. We're going to talk about coronavirus, and the peak stupidity in our media over coronavirus. We're going to talk about your freedom index, 10 statements that you can use to identify whether or not you have the freedom and fulfillment you deserve in your life. And then we're going to talk about your survival instinct and how your survival instinct may be killing you. All that and more coming your way over the next 25 minutes. But first, let's see who's joining us. As you join us, let us know your city, your state, your town, your name, and share your big wins for the week. So, thank you again for joining us. Just doing a quick sweep here, see who's joining us here. Say hello. I'll give you a shout out as we go in here. Armando from Shanghai, China. Hello. Hello, Armando. We are going to talk about China a little bit today. Well, coronavirus. We're not going to talk about China as much. In fact, we're going to talk about the media wherever you are and the peak stupidity and the programming of the media as it relates to coronavirus. So thank you all for joining us today. So let's talk about coronavirus. By the time this airs on the podcast, as we record it now, we are at peak fear of coronavirus. I don't know how many people in the United States, a country of 300 million people, have coronavirus, but you would think it's everywhere. I'm getting calls about conferences that I'm supposed to speak at that are being canceled. One of them's in North Carolina. They've had one case of coronavirus in North Carolina. Everyone's talking about coronavirus. People are posting pictures at the store. Toilet paper wiped out. I don't know if toilet paper fights coronavirus. Apparently it does. Hand soap wiped out. Apparently, we have to wait for a government entity to urge us to wash our hands before we start washing our hands. What the hell's with that? My friends, someone asked me the other day my thoughts on coronavirus, and I said, I think this is playing out exactly how some people want this to play out. Certainly the media. Now, I've worked in media for 3 decades. And, there's that old saying, if it bleeds, it leads. Well, supposedly now, or apparently now, even if it doesn't bleed, it leads. I opened Facebook the other day to see a story in our local newspaper here, the Charleston Post and Courier. And the headline, I've noticed they've changed the headline, but the headline said, I can't remember exactly what it said, but it said, local people screened for deadly coronavirus. And you read it, and the first 2 paragraphs are the fact that 2 people were sick. They were screened for coronavirus and found not to have the virus. The headline could have been 2 people don't have virus. How the hell is that a news story? But they draw you in deadly virus. 2 people screamed, oh my gosh, people in my community have coronavirus. And it turns out they don't even have coronavirus. This, my folks, is part of the media programming I talk on this show about all the time. They prey upon your fear, on your victimhood. They make money when they make you feel like a victim, get drawn in, get worried about coronavirus. My friends, I am of the mindset that we are going to talk our way and believe our way into a pandemic. Hell, we're already using it to talk our way and believe our way into a recession. And I know there are some people who would love a recession because they don't like the current folks in power here in the United States. And I'm not making a political value judgment. I just know what I see. We are programmed by the media. So that story said 2 people screened for deadly coronavirus. They draw you in. By the way, the picture on that story was a picture of our local Costco, where my wife and kids were at a day or 2 before the story. So it draws me in. Oh my gosh, does someone at Costco have coronavirus? Did someone pass out in the middle of Costco? So I click on it. No. So after they talk about the fact that 2 people were screened and found negative for coronavirus, then they went on to talk about the fact that Costco has people wiping down the shopping carts. Something, by the way, we do all the time. Wiping down the shopping carts in case people get coronavirus. And then they interviewed people at Costco about what they think about coronavirus. But the way they packaged the story is brilliant from a marketing standpoint. Deadly coronavirus. 2 people screen. They show a picture of Costco. Oh my gosh, not only do people in my community have coronavirus, they probably had it at the store at which I shop every week. None of that's true. 2 people were screened, found not to have coronavirus. The story randomly did not have anything to do with Costco other than the fact that people are wiping down shopping carts for the virus. It's brilliant from a marketing perspective, but I want you to realize that the news media is preying upon your fears. When 1 person in the state of North Carolina gets coronavirus, I don't know how many millions of people live in North Carolina, and it is headline news, and people start canceling events in North Carolina because 1 person in a state of 5, 6, 7 million people have it. We have reached peak stupidity. Aside from the fact now that everything is about us looking to government. What are you going to do to protect me from coronavirus? What are you going to do? We have CDC officials coming out and saying, oh my gosh, it is inevitable that coronavirus is going to be here. And what happens? The stock market tanks. We are willing ourselves into a recession. We are willing ourselves and believing ourselves into a panic. Now, in a few weeks, perhaps coronavirus has spread so far and wide here in the United States that we're going to have to deal with it. And by the way, this is to take nothing away from the people who have coronavirus and the people who have passed away from coronavirus. It's to take nothing away from the hundreds of thousands of people that pass away from the flu, from AIDS, from cancer, from anything else. What I'm telling you is, how does it benefit you to know every single person that has been screened for coronavirus in the United States? How is it benefiting you to know right now, immediately, about every person who has coronavirus in the United States? Everyone who has died from coronavirus? The answer is it doesn't. It programs you to live in a state of fear. It programs you to live with a state of lack, of limitation, of scarcity. This is how media programs you to get in a state of fear and hype. This is how economies rise and fall. It's the collective consciousness of fear that pushes us in this direction. And so I urge you, go on that low information diet. Yes, I'm coming to you on social media right now, but I hope I'm using these platforms with a sense of positivity and abundance to urge you to get the fuck off social media. You don't need to know about every economic crisis in the world as it happens. You don't need to know about every utterance of every politician as it happens. You don't need to get mad about every speech given by Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi, Barack Obama, or Donald Trump as it happens. You don't need to know about every case of coronavirus in which a person has died or been screened as it happens. Why? Because until coronavirus hits your household, you know what? Wash your hands, stay healthy, hydrate, get plenty of sleep. Not necessarily in that order. Do those things. Do what you can to stay healthy, whether it's coronavirus, whether it's cancer, whether it's inflammation, whether it's a cold virus, whether it's the flu, whatever it is, do what you can to control your health. But don't be sucked into the fear that would program you to believe that coronavirus is hiding around every corner and that you will get affected because one person in the state of North Carolina, a state of millions of people, has been infected. This is the media programming I'm talking about. Even if it remotely might bleed, it leads now. I talked about that Post and Courier story. So we have reached peak stupidity in our world, where we are programmed by the media, programmed about what to think about, programmed into believing ourselves into an economic recession. Do you know how many conferences are being canceled? Airlines now are cutting back on their flights because of fears. Because of fears, folks. Yes, in China and Italy, there are all these cases. People are dying. Here in the United States, that hasn't yet happened. But I feel like we're willing ourselves into it. I feel like we're willing ourselves into an economic recession. I do a lot of keynote speeches. I had people calling me yesterday, they might cancel. Do you know how many keynote speakers, professional keynote speakers there are in this country right now who are losing income because of fears that coronavirus might happen, so people are canceling conferences? What about the flu? Now, you can point to mortality rates, you can point to all those things, and I would point to the fact that we don't have a complete picture of exactly what everything looks like. On our Freedom Media Network, in an interview I did this week, the fact is the Chinese Communist Party, which controls China, is very secretive. We don't know exactly what's going on. Disinformation, misinformation, stymieing the World Health Organization that they go in. They point to mortality rates, but for every 100 people over there, we don't know the quality of their water systems, the quality of their healthcare, the quality of the air and the pollution that goes. How many people had COPD and died because of that? How many people were sick and elderly? So I guess my message today is tune out, calm down, focus on what you can control. Wash your freaking hands. And by the way, don't wait for a government entity like the CDC, the Centers for Disease Control, to tell you to wash your hands. Wash your hands year in and year out. Be healthy, hydrate, eat an anti-inflammatory diet. Stop being unhealthy. The more unhealthy you are, the more inflamed you are, the more stressed you are, the less sleep you get. The less you practice good hygiene, the more likely you are to get not just coronavirus, but flu, but a common cold, cancer, a number of things. Take personal responsibility for your life. Stop letting the media program you into fear. Stop letting the media talk us into an economic recession. Stop letting the media make you think that a sickness, a killer, whatever it is around every corner. Take personal responsibility for your life. Reprogram yourself. Control your mind. Guard what you let into your mind. And don't succumb to the stupidity that societal programming would have you succumb to. That's the first message for today. Now, before we move on to our next topic, let's take a look. By the way, again, as you join us, let us know your name, your city, your state, your town, where you're joining us from. Let us also know it's Friday. Let's end this week with a sense of gratitude and accomplishment. What are your big wins for the week? Drop them in the comments. We got Armando from Shanghai. We got Jerry from Chicago. We got Cletus Young. Hey, Cletus joining us, I believe, from Tampa. Cletus, what are your big wins for the week? If you're joining us on Facebook, jump in, say hello. Joining us on Twitter, we got a number of people joining us across those platforms. So if you regularly listen to this show, watch this show, you know that the first question I always ask the people whom I interview is, what does the word freedom mean to you? It says it on my shirt that I'm wearing right now, because freedom means something different to every person. Sure, there may be common themes, but I can't define what freedom means to you. You have to define it for yourself. And that's why I've created the Freedom Index. The Freedom Index is 10 simple statements. I'm going to read them off here. And as I read off these statements, I want you to rate them on a scale of 1 to 10. 1 means you strongly disagree with that statement. 10 means you strongly agree with it in terms of how the statement applies to you and your life. And at the end, as I read this, I'm going to ask you to add up the number and the rating you had for each of these statements. Take the average. That is your Freedom Index. On a scale of 1 to 10, how free and fulfilled are you? I shared this the other day and someone on LinkedIn came in at a 5. Folks, if you are at a 5 or 6, you need to take action right now. Stop waiting. Stop spending your life waiting. Start living. And it starts with reaching out, with creating your life of freedom and fulfillment right now. So I'm going to read these 10 statements. I urge you, I ask you, I implore you, as I read these statements off, rate them on a scale of 1 to 10. Do you agree with them? Do you disagree with them? 1 is strongly disagree. 10 is strongly agree. The first statement: my days are filled with things I want to do versus things I feel compelled to do. 1 to 10. 1 being strongly disagree, 10 being strongly agree. Do you agree that that applies to your life? Because part of living a life of freedom and fulfillment is living a life of want instead of a life of compulsion. Now, you know what that means deep down. You know, if I want to get in shape, maybe I feel compelled to go to the gym. That's different than feeling compelled to go to a job you hate every single day. That's different than feeling compelled to save another $2 or $3 or $4,000 in your bank account before you go on that trip with your wife. Instead of feeling compelled to live every single day like you feel like you're doing what you were not put on this earth to do, living a life you actually want. I talked to a business owner yesterday who said he's at an inflection point in his business and he can go one of two ways. He can stick with this and make his business work, or he can go work for someone else. I said, what do you want to do? He came and told me exactly what he wants to do. And I said, then let's do that. Because you see a lot of business coaches focus on the dollars and the cents only, but they don't focus on what the hell do you actually want to do. Let's start there and reverse engineer it. So my days are filled with things I want to do versus things I feel compelled to do. That's the first statement in the Freedom Index. Do you agree or disagree with that? Number 2, my health and fitness are excellent. On a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you agree with that? How much does that apply to your life? Third statement: my relationship with my spouse, my partner, my significant other is excellent. Again, as I read these statements off, I've read off 3 here. I'm going to read 10. Rank them on a scale of 1 to 10. 1 being strongly disagree, 10 being strongly agree. My relationship with my spouse and partner, significant other, is excellent. Number 4, I spend enough time investing in myself. Or are you constantly saying, I never can read those books I want to read. I never have time to spend time with my friends, my spouse, my significant other. I never have time to work out. So I spend enough time investing in myself. Does that apply to you or not on a scale of 1 to 10? Number 5, I'm fulfilled every single day, not just nights and weekends. Because if you're living for Fridays, if you're only living for weekends, if you're living for nights only, if you're living for that bell to go off when you leave work and go home, you're not truly free and fulfilled, because life's too short just to live for nights and weekends. Number 6, my family and I have traveled to at least one place we really want to go, not some place you had to go for work or a wedding or family obligations, in the past year. Your family and you have traveled to at least one place you really want to go in the past year. On a scale of 1 to 10, how much does that apply to your life? Number 7, I have a clearly defined vision for my life. Does that apply to you, or do you go through life like a pinball, bouncing from objective to objective with no clear vision, with no clear guiding star? That's number 7. I have a clearly defined vision for my life. On a scale of 1 to 10, how much does that apply or not apply to you? Number 8, my spouse, significant other, partner, and I have at least 2 date nights per month. At least 2 date nights per month. And when I often say this, half the people say only 2 date nights, and the other half say 2 dates? We could never do that. Well, this should be a minimum 2 date nights per month. My wife and I, as I record this, are going for a date night tonight. We went for a date night last week. We love it. It brings joy into our lives, and it strengthens our relationships, and those relationships are the most important thing in your life. So does that apply to you? Number 9, I love my job and it fulfills me. Does your job fulfill you, or do you have to rationalize every day, well, there's some good things about my job and I don't mind it? That's not fulfillment. I love my job and fulfills me. And it fulfills me. Does that apply to you? 1, strongly disagree. 10, strongly agree. Number 10, my work, my family, and self are in perfect alignment, because, my friends, it's not about work-life balance, because work and life aren't separate. There's just life, and how you spend the time in your life is entirely up to you. It's not about balance. It's about alignment, aligning the 3 facets of your life: relationship, self, and work, in a way that works for you. So are your work, your relationships, and yourself in perfect alignment? If not, give it a 1. Rank it a 1. If so, give it a 10. So again, I read off those 10 statements. And for each statement, I ask you to rank it on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being strongly disagree, 10 being strongly agree. Now add up those numbers, take the average. That average is your freedom index. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how free and fulfilled are you? If you're a 5 or 6, you owe it to yourself, you owe it to your family, you owe it to the people around you, you owe it to society, you owe it to your community to get to a 10. And if you say, well, I'll do that in the future, you're spending your life waiting instead of living. There's no guarantee that you and I are going to be here tomorrow, much less when we're 65 or however long you're waiting to live. That business owner I talked to yesterday is in his early 50s. It's time to live now, whether you're 20, whether you're 30, whether you're 40, whether you're 50. My very first client, she was 62 years old, and she messaged me and says, is it too late for me? And I said to her, do you have a breath left in your body? She said, yes. I said, then why would you want to spend 1 millisecond more without a sense of freedom and fulfillment? It is never too late. It is never too early. So if your freedom index isn't as high as you want it to be, you deserve a 10. And if you're just joining us now, go back, listen to the 10 statements I read, rank them on a scale of 1 to 10, take the average, find out your freedom index. And if you want to get it higher, contact me. My mission is to help you get into that life of freedom and fulfillment. I have a proven system, the 5 pillars of the freedom lifestyle. I've used it for myself. I've used it for hundreds of people over the last several years. If you want to get a life of freedom and fulfillment, you deserve it, and it can be done. It starts with you making that decision, contacting me. Let's go get it. So before we go on to topic 3 here, let's see who's joining us today. Again, it is Friday, so let's end this week with a sense of accomplishment. Don't only share your name and where you're joining us from, let us know your big accomplishments for the week or small accomplishments for the week. Cletus, you're an 8.5. That is awesome. That's excellent, Cletus. Wonderful. But you can still get it up to a 10, right? Jasmine, thank you so much. Jasmine from Chicago. Thank you so much for joining us today. Jasmine, what are your accomplishments for the week? Let us know. Whether you're joining us on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, Periscope, Twitter, welcome today. This is the Freedom Friday live stream. We're here most Fridays at 9:30 a.m. Eastern. So today we've already talked about media and some people reaching peak stupidity over coronavirus. We just talked about your freedom index and what freedom means to you and rating whether or not you have enough freedom and fulfillment in your life. So now let's talk about survival. The fact is your survival instinct might be killing you. Now, what do I mean by that? You know, as humans, as animals, we are made to survive. Our body has that built-in mechanism to keep us alive. You walk toward the edge of a cliff, what happens? You get that feeling, you get that cortisol coursing through your veins, and you pull back from the cliff because your subconscious mind has said, danger, danger, Will Robinson, pull back. Your body can keep you alive. Your cortisol is your stress hormone. It is your fight or flight hormone. So if an attacker comes out, if a lion jumps out in front of you, your body goes into survival mode to protect you. Every animal has it. It's deep in you. It's instinctual. It's your intuition. But it might be killing you as well. Why is that? That same instinct that keeps you alive can also sense danger in anything you relate as risky. Because my friends, I talk about programming a lot on this program. If you are programmed for scarcity, if you are programmed to have a bad relationship with money, if you are programmed to think wealthy people are bad, if you are programmed to think, you know, I can't attain that, I can never do that, oh, that's so much hard work. If you're programmed to believe that life is simply a lottery, that life is about luck, if you're programmed with a lack mentality, imposter syndrome, then your survival instinct will take over anytime you want more in your life. I hate this job, but I want to create my own business. Your survival instinct is going to kick in, pull you back from what it perceives as a cliff, as an attacker coming at you, and your fight or flight response is going to keep you trapped in that 9-to-5 job. Now, I'm not saying you need to get out of your 9-to-5 job for a sense of freedom. I'm using that as an example. Your survival instinct may keep you, if you're programmed this way, from pursuing good relationships. It may keep you from an abundance mindset that puts you on the path to creating wealth and prosperity in your life. Your survival instinct may be pulling you back from the life you actually want. Because remember, living a life of freedom is about living a life of want instead of compulsion. And I've coached hundreds of people over the past several years, and I know folks who set a deadline for freedom. They really want to do this with their career, and they want to get into it by May 1st. That survival instinct keeps pulling them back because it makes them think that they're going to die or something else, that they're not going to survive if they leave their job, if they create a new life for themselves. I know someone who wants to be a lifestyle coach, a health coach. And right now he's in construction. But he has that imposter syndrome. I could never do that. He has that lack mentality so that every time he goes forth to focus on and hammer out some outcomes that moves him toward building his health coaching business, that survival instinct kicks in. The cortisol flows through his brain, pulls him back from the cliff and says, danger, danger, Will Robinson. That survival instinct is killing him because he keeps kicking the can down the road, spending his life waiting instead of living. That survival instinct keeps him from the life he actually wants to live because his subconscious is perceiving that life of want, that life that he actually desires, as dangerous. This folks, goes to the heart of what I talk about all the time and the need to reprogram yourself. You are programmed for survival. But that survival instinct may be killing you because it perceives things that you actually want and desire, things that may be different from what you've done in your life, things that you're conditioned to believe yourself as less than you are, conditioned to have that imposter syndrome, conditioned to think I'm not worthy. Maybe you've been programmed that way by the media, by your parents, by bosses, from church pulpits. That programming is killing you because it's coursing through your veins. Every time you want to do something, your body is perceiving it as risky. But something interesting happens when you start reprogramming yourself. You start getting more freedom in your life. You start doing more of those things you desire, and then you want more. So in many ways, it's not about getting outside your comfort zone. It's about expanding your comfort zone. The more you taste freedom, the more you want it. Hell, this is why totalitarian regimes crack down on free speech, on free creativity, because they know that the more their people taste freedom, the more they're going to want their freedom. This is how revolutions are started. And I'm urging you today to start and spark a revolution in your mind. Tell that survival instinct, get the fuck out of the way, because I'm going to start living the life I want. I'm going to start living the life I desire. And it's not risky. It's not dangerous. Stop pulling me back from the cliff, because this is the life I want. But to do that, you have to reprogram every day. Get up early in the morning. Folks, I repeat this all the time because it's about repetition. Not just for me repeating it so you finally start doing it, but for you getting up early in the morning, visualizing the life you want. Knowing that prosperity isn't something you go and grab. Prosperity is within you. You were born with it. God gave you that prosperity. You just have to water that seed, provide some sunlight, and let it flourish. But your survival instinct from the programming, the lack programming you've had your entire life, prevents the water, prevents the sunlight from getting into that seed. And so it remains within you, but it doesn't blossom. So yes, your survival instinct may be the very thing that is killing you. And I'm going to urge you, I'm going to implore you, I'm going to challenge you today, starting today. Find some time, sit down, quiet, still, start visualizing the life you want. Start affirming yourself. Stop saying, I hope and I wish. Start saying, I am energy. I am love. I am gratitude. I am joy. I am patience. I am detached. And I am the person I want to be. Not I'm going to be. Not I hope to be, not I wish to be. Realize you already are that person. You just have to open it up, turn the light on, and let it flourish. That's how you tell your survival instinct to get the fuck out of the way and start being a block on the prosperity and the abundance that's already within you. So, folks, that is today's Freedom Friday live stream. I want to thank you so much for joining us today. Again, today's episode has been brought to you by the Freedom Lifestyle webinar. You deserve a life of freedom and fulfillment. I can help you get there. Click the link in the post. The webinar is March 18th at noon Eastern. This has been the Freedom Friday live stream. My name is Kurt Mercadante, wishing you a life of freedom and fulfillment. It starts